This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Get ready, Winnipeg. You're about to pay more, from property taxes to garbage collection fees to water and sewer rates. The city is raising fees to help balance its budget. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We're going to break all the details down for you right now. Winnipeggers can expect to pay new and higher fees as the city tries to keep property tax rates down. The City of Winnipeg released its latest budget today. CBC's Cameron McLean joins us now live from the newsroom to tell us more about it. Okay, Cam, break it to us gently. Just how does this budget impact what we're going to have to pay for services?
Well, we already knew that the city planned to raise the property tax by 3.5%, same as last year. That's about $69 on the average home. But that isn't enough to keep up with costs. Other cities have raised their taxes by as much as 10%. To avoid that, the city has tried to find other ways of raising money. Here are some examples. The budget adds a new charge of $1 per month for every phone registered to a Winnipeg address. This is to fund improvements to the 911 system. A 1 percentage point increase to the accommodation tax will go to fund city operations, and fees will increase by 5% on average across the board. That could be for anything from a pool admission to a building permit. The city is also raising garbage collection fees by $10, and next year the city will start charging a new fee for multifamily buildings at $46 per unit. Mayor Scott Gillingham says the city needs to find a way to pay for services without relying solely on property taxes.
We tried in this budget to balance those competing realities, that there are people right now who are struggling. I think that's one of the reasons that when we look, for example, at transit, we are making significant investments in transit.
The city is also raising transit fares by 10 cents, up from the usual 5 cents. However, they are freezing the price of the discounted Wind Pass for this year. Janet?
So what have you heard, Cameron? How are people reacting to these fee increases?
We spoke to Kate Kaler of the Social Planning Council of Winnipeg. She says the budget is good news for property owners, but worries the fee increases will be tough for some to swallow.
The one that leapt out at me is, of course, 911 services are incredibly crucial, but we're asking people who are already struggling to pay a phone bill to put maybe $1, $2, $3, $4 more dollars per month, when in Canada we pay such high rates already.
We've been also hearing talk about the city closing some pools. What can you tell us about that?
They plan to decommission 20 outdoor wading pools and open 10 new splash pads. They're also closing 3 swimming pools, the Eldon Ross Pool in Brooklands and the Happy Land in Windsor Park pools in St. Boniface. They'll also be reviewing attendance and operation costs at the Sherbrooke Pool. Janet?
So, Cameron, what happens next?
Well, starting next month, there will be a series of meetings to go over the budget. Members of the public can come and argue for changes, and council will meet to consider the budget on March 20th. Janet?
Cameron McLean reporting live tonight. Thanks, Cam. All right, a big old mess of weather is headed our way. Riley Lachuk is out in it tonight. He joins us live now from the roof of the CBC building. What's it doing out there, Riley?
Well, Janet, I can tell you that the winds have started to pick up here in downtown Winnipeg. I know we did see a little bit of rain here in the downtown and really across the city earlier in the afternoon. That has since kind of tapered off, and that was the first round of this precipitation. Yes, just round one. We can take a look at live radar right now, and you can see that we do have that rain that has kind of moved north of the city now. But look at what's happening to the west. We see snow along the Trans-Canada corridor. Back to a little more rain, according to the live radar at least, through the Portage, McGregor, Austin area, and then some freezing rain into the western part of Manitoba. So yeah, it's quite messy, especially west of the city. We have a special weather statement. We're expecting up to 10 to 15 centimeters of snow generally across southern Manitoba, most of that in the western part of Manitoba, where we have this snowfall warning in white. So yeah, messy wintry mix on the way and starting now here in Manitoba. We'll time this all out for you when I come back in a few minutes.
Thanks very much, Riley. Peguis First Nation has hired new lawyers to fight a $172 million lawsuit over outstanding loans. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports on the financial stress at Manitoba's most populous First Nation.
Peguis First Nation has almost 12,000 members on and off reserve. That's big for a First Nation, but not so big to easily handle a $172 million legal claim against it. Stan Bird has served as the chief of Peguis for the past 10 months.
We need to move out from under this position that we're in. It's almost like we're in a position where we can't do much until a BFI is cleared up.
BFI is Bridging Finance Inc., a company that lent Peguis money to build housing at the flood-prone reserve, build gas bars in Winnipeg and Selkirk, and take over earlier loans from BMO Bank of Montreal. The interest rate on those loans was prime plus 11%. Bridging is now insolvent. The Ontario Securities Commission alleged in 2021 that Bridging managers funneled investor money to themselves. In December 2022, a court-appointed receiver for Bridging sued Peguis in Manitoba's Court of King's Bench. In an amended statement of claim, PricewaterhouseCoopers is seeking $172 million, $99 million in principal, and $73 million in interest. In a statement of defense filed in September of last year, Peguis said the Bridging loans were illegal because the managers used Bridging funds and Bridging investor funds to personally enrich themselves, thereby committing fraud and other wrongdoings. The scheme was in its entirety a Ponzi scheme for which no valid recourse is available to the receiver. Peguis also argued in its statement of defense that prime plus 11% loans were unconscionable, arguing that Bridging knew and ought to have known that Peguis First Nation was not in any position to repay the credit facilities. Stan Bird, who was elected Peguis chief after the lawsuit was filed, is now seeking a second opinion.
Well, with the BFI hanging over our head, it's almost like we can't do very much until that's resolved. And we do have our legal team looking at that right now. We brought on a new firm to address that.
Before Bird was elected, Peguis claimed in financial statements most of its debt had been written down. Its own auditors noted there's no evidence that PricewaterhouseCoopers agreed to that. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A beloved local bakery is struggling as a family member grapples with health issues. They missed out on the busy holiday season and now are asking for help. CBC's Emily Brass has more.
The Eiffel Tower pastry shop has been a fixture on Pembina Avenue, helping people celebrate special occasions for 24 years. Now, the mother-daughter team behind the well-loved cakes is asking for help.
Right now, she can't see, she can't move, and she has a tube still going into her lungs.
Aaron Essery's mom, Brenda, got very sick last Thanksgiving with COVID. A couple of months later, she was struggling to breathe.
All of a sudden, she just took a turn for the worse. So on December the 30th, they rushed her to the ICU, and then they ended up intubating her, and they told us it was time to say goodbye.
Brenda ended up in a medically induced coma for weeks and wasn't herself when she woke up. Her spirits were low and she lost her vision, a side effect of her battle with long COVID. Erin was forced to put the business on the back burner to take care of her mom, sometimes pulling all-nighters to stay by her side. But the mother-daughter duo decided they don't want to give up the shop.
If I have to choose between cakes and my mom, I'm going to choose my mom. But we've spent years building our bakery. Through COVID, it was just the two of us, and we worked 12-hour days. We worked every day so that we could stay afloat.
Erin started fundraising, pulling in more than $20,000, a testament to their clients.
We know our customers, and they've been so supportive through all of this, and the thought of losing not just the business, but losing our community is just, it's heartbreaking.
She says the storefront is usually closed, but staff are baking behind the scenes. They try to open up Saturday afternoons. Erin's mom is slowly building back her strength in a hospital. Emily Brass, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The new head of Manitoba Public Insurance says she wants to build back the trust of Manitoba Public Insurance for both ratepayers and employees.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So you're stepping into this new role at MPI.
Safir Jatana joined Marcy Marcusa this morning on Information Radio. She's been a vice president at MPI for the past 4 years. The 10-week-long strike at MPI and subsequent wait list for everything from driver testing to repairs has eroded public confidence in the institution. Now, as MPI's new chief executive officer, Jatana says, given her history at the corporation, she will be able to start working to improve MPI right away.
We are going to be focusing on first developing a plan and then ensuring that we have the right structure, we have the right layer, we have the right management count, and we have the right number of frontline employees providing service to Manitoban.
So you're reassessing things.
Jatana says most important to her is ensuring she can move MPI forward and be responsible to ratepayers. Mounties in Portage la Prairie are warning about a rental scam. A local realty company says fraudsters are using its photos and information about rental properties, taking would-be renters to a different fraudulent website. The phony site tells applicants to send money in order to secure the property. Police say to be wary of websites listing lower than normal monthly rent and to thoroughly research a property before sending money anywhere. The Nature Conservancy of Canada is taking another piece of property in Manitoba in its efforts to preserve wetlands. The Conservancy has acquired a piece of land just east of St. Rita, a community east of Enola. Riley Laychuk has the story.
Along Highway 15 east of Winnipeg, you're likely to see land like this. Wetlands with cattails and tall grass dotting the landscape amongst farmland to the west and forest to the east. Peatlands and wetlands like this land behind me here are among nature's sponges, both figuratively and literally. Not only do they hold in and store large amounts of water, but they are also among the vegetation that holds in carbon, the best in the world. But peat is also highly sought after commercially. It is the same sort of peat you can buy at a garden center, which has left untouched wetland like this increasingly a threat in Canada.
Wetlands are one of those kind of habitats that we are losing.
Tim Teedart is with the Nature Conservancy of Canada. It has been trying to make sure peatland and wetlands like these are preserved and restored.
Within Canada, that we've lost about 70% of wetlands in the southern portion of the country, kind of where the majority of the population lives.
This piece of property near St. Rita was donated to the Nature Conservancy. It's about 80 hectares in size. That is a little smaller than the area of Osborne Village. A drop in the bucket considering the Nature Conservancy looks after some 10,000 hectares of wetland in Manitoba alone. But the impact peatland like this has in the fight against climate change and severe weather events is far-reaching. Pete Whittington has studied peatland preservation and restoration extensively. He chairs the Department of Geography and Environment at Brandon University.
Peatlands, despite covering 3% of the Earth's surface, store twice as much carbon as all of the world's forests combined. So they are an enormously dense carbon store.
Not only does it store carbon, but peatland like this can hold and store a vast amount of excess moisture, key in times of severe weather. Both Whittington and Teedart acknowledge that even with its unique climate change fighting properties, there needs to be a balance to find between peat extraction and the jobs that come with it and the preservation of a natural resource.
There's always a balance, right? People, economy, and nature.
But this piece of wetland is now safe from development. The Nature Conservancy will inventory the plant and animal life in this plot of land in the spring. While the Nature Conservancy has over 100 properties like these, they say more need to be protected and restored, not only to fight climate change, but also to better protect against severe weather events that are increasing in nature across Canada. Riley Laychuk, CBC News, near St. Rita, Manitoba.
And now the man who's clearly everywhere is back indoors, a few flights down from where he was. We've got watches and warnings.
We do have watches and warnings and snow in the forecast, rain in places for other viewers as well. Let's get right into it right now because it's a lot to talk about. So here's the special weather statement and the snowfall warning. So the blue is the special weather statement. Generally, this area here, the Red River Valley included down into southeastern Manitoba, 5 to 10 centimeters of snow, 5 to 10 millimeters of rain. In this area in white, the northern Interlake, the Westman region, Riding Mountain National Park, looking at 10 up to 25 centimeters of snow expected in areas like Riding Mountain National Park. So here's how it looks on satellite radar right now. Here is that band of rain that moved through southern Manitoba and the Winnipeg region a little earlier. Snow to the west along the Trans-Canada Highway. And this is why I've been saying the last couple of days, if you have any travel plans that involve highways outside the city, you might want to postpone them because this snow, coupled with the winds, are going to create some pretty treacherous driving conditions. So let's time this out as we get through the next couple of days here. So you can see snow back to the west through the Westman region, mainly a snow event for the western part of Manitoba. But as we get into the evening tonight, we get another shot of precipitation on the line between rain and snow once again for the Winnipeg region because temperatures are on the freezing mark. So as we advance into the overnight period into early tomorrow morning, another shot of snow for Winnipeg, maybe some rain points to the south and east, and really that continues as we get into the day and into the noon hour on Thursday. You can see the center of that low skirting along the international boundary. That's bringing some rain to southeastern Manitoba, and as we get into the supper hour tomorrow, we're looking at more periods of snow, so what I'm calling it for the Westman region, but a more involved snow for eastern Manitoba into northwestern Ontario, and that kind of tapers off as we get into Friday, but we will still see likely some periods of light snow as we get through the morning. Otherwise, we're looking at a mainly cloudy sky as we get through Friday and Saturday. So timing out the rainfall here, you can see as we get through into the day on Saturday, 10 to 20 millimeters for the southeastern part of Manitoba, about 10 for the Winnipeg region. But here's the snowfall, and you can see where the brunt of the snow likely to fall here in the Riding Mountain National Park region, 10 to 15 centimeters otherwise across western Manitoba. This is why this is kind of hard to forecast because look at the temperatures as we get into the morning on Thursday, not really moving. Stuck at about 1 to 0 as we get into the morning tomorrow. Right now, 2 degrees in Winnipeg. We've been seeing that light rain falling, east winds at 20, and we will see the winds pick up as we get into the day tomorrow. So as we start the day on Thursday, we can see winds picking up here, these darker purple shades out of the north, gusting to 40, even 50 by the time we get to the supper hour tomorrow. So yeah, we're going to see winds and precipitation pick up as we get into the night tonight and into the day tomorrow. Temperatures staying around freezing and the temperature falling as we get through the afternoon tomorrow. -6 for a forecast high on Friday. -5 under cloud cover on Saturday. And Janet, we're looking at temperatures much more seasonal as we get into next week.
Okay, thanks very much, Riley. We'll check in with you a little bit later. It's been a while since most of us have, washed the car. It's been so muddy and mucky out there. Why bother? But that activity, washing a car, even something like sitting at an office desk, seems pretty simple, even mundane to most of us. But these sort of everyday tasks can do a lot to help people who have Alzheimer's or dementia. Riverview Health Center's Alzheimer's Center of Excellence has different theme rooms designed to look familiar to residents, spaces where people who have Alzheimer's and dementia can relive cherished memories. Community reporter Shanna Lee Vidal and videographer Travis Golby got a tour of the pavilion last week and learned how it's helping residents.
So this is our nursery. So it's to invoke memories for both men and women of when they may have had their own children and what it would have looked like in their home. My name is Christy Peters, and I'm a resident care manager here at Riverview Health Center, and I manage our 2 units that are for dementia care specialty. So it's a special needs unit and a special needs behavioral unit. So we use doll therapy here at Riverview, and I'll show you one of our dolls. So our dolls aren't maybe what you would necessarily see in just the store. They're more lifelike, and I know you guys can't see or feel the weight, but they're actually heavy. So they mimic an actual baby and what you would feel and see with your own baby. A lot of our residents with Alzheimer's, dementias, they tend to walk a lot. So we have a large space where people can walk. It's unobstructed. So we have that space for that. But then we also have a lot of, again, different stations, different memory stations. We have stations that invoke memories from residents in their past.
My name is Amber Meyer, and I am the clinical resource nurse of the Special Needs Unit and the Special Needs Behavioral Unit at Riverview Health Centre. This is a very new building, and this is meant to really engage residents in activities. It's a big space to come and celebrate and play and really just engage, evoke some powerful, positive memories.
This one here looks like it could be my grandmother's dining room.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, really. I mean, a lot of the times our residents were used to hosting dinner parties and things like that, right? So they can come here and you can see that we have lots of dishes and glasses. There's some vases that they can come here and set the table, prepare for their dinner party.
So we have some critters here, a dog and a cat. Tell me about these animals.
Okay, so these are our therapy animals. So it's hard sometimes to have live animals on the unit. So what we have is we have a dog and cat. We actually have several different kinds, but what they do is they'll bark, they're interactive, they move, and our residents love them. So our residents will spend some time actually petting them, just watching them, listening to them, because they are a bit interactive.
Why are things like that so important for the residents?
Well, it brings them happiness, right? So if they have a positive moment, it leaves them feeling positive with happy feelings, and that follows them through the rest of their day.
So this car is very popular as well. So this car is here, again, to invoke memories for our residents. Our car actually opens so that residents can sit in the car. And we're actually starting some research with Dr. Musavi where they're going to be installing a virtual simulator into the car, and our residents will actually be acting as if they're driving and have a screen projected on the windshield to make it look like they're driving. So that's going to be really interesting, and the researchers are going to look at quality and mood of our residents and if it helps enhance that.
Now this next one, this is like going to the beauty parlor.
It is, exactly. So this is our beauty salon dress up area. So we have a couple different hats. They can sit down and, you know, try things on, look in the mirror. It mimics being at the salon. We have our manicure station right here. Our residents love getting their nails done, and it's great because this is portable too, because we do have some residents where coming in here can be quite traumatic, going from point A to point B. So having things portable that we can take to them so that they're not missing out, they can enjoy the stuff as well.
How does, revisiting those memories, how does that help the residents here?
Well, I think it's a few things. So one, it brings back powerful memories of love, joy, happiness, and I think it gives residents a purpose. So with Alzheimer's and dementia, people lose their memory, lose a lot of their abilities. So when they have a purpose, it brings them joy, brings them meaning to their life. Freud said everybody needs purpose and meaning. So having things like doll therapy gives residents still this purpose and a feeling of contribution and doing a role they would have done for the remainder of their previous lives.
I think it's important to remember that people that have dementia are people too. They have emotions and feelings, and they have good days and bad days, and we have to be here to support them through it all.
Brazen car thefts are happening in record numbers. Now the federal government says it has a plan to fight auto theft. More on that after the break. The federal government announced new money today to fight auto theft, $28 million to beef up border inspection because the stolen cars are shipped out of the country. This comes ahead of a summit on the problem tomorrow with senior ministers, police chiefs, and city mayors meeting. CBC's Kate McKenna reports.
It's been a couple of months, but Chris Coyer still has trouble believing his vehicle was stolen from his driveway.
They say you go through stages of grief, and I think I went through them all with the car. I was shocked, and then I was mad, and then I was, sad and in tears. I went through it all.
He's one of tens of thousands of Canadians who've lost their vehicles recently. Car thefts like this one in broad daylight are happening in record numbers, a situation some industry insiders call a national crisis.
We've been hearing that another record is going to be broken in 2023. So 2022 was the first year on record that insurance losses were over $1 billion. 2023 is on track to break that even still.
But Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says the federal government has been asleep at the wheel. He says he's got a plan which includes increasing mandatory jail time for thieves and buying scanners to check if stolen vehicles are inside shipping crates.
Our common sense plan to put the brakes on car theft is to secure our ports and lock up the car thieves.
A new announcement from Ottawa today suggests the Liberals may have been listening.
Today, I'm pleased to announce an additional investment of $28 million to bolster the Canada Border Services Agency's ability to detect and search containers with stolen vehicles.
I would like to see things stepped up somewhat, something put in place to help a little more with the recovery.
Chris Coyer says he wants federal leaders to take this issue as seriously as he has, bumping up his own protection so his new car doesn't suffer the same fate. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
A former senior RCMP intelligence official has been sentenced to 14 years in prison for leaking secrets and violating the Security of Information Act. CBC's Catherine Tunney has the latest.
This was one of the last times Cameron Ortis walked freely. It'll be years until he can do that again. A different look today for the former RCMP intelligence official, chains around his feet, sitting behind glass, as the judge sentenced him to 14 years in prison.
I just spoke to him. Obviously it's a bit of a shock.
Ortis was previously found guilty of violating Canada's Secrets Act after he leaked intelligence to police targets, men with ties to the criminal underworld. Justice Robert Moranger wrote in his decision that Ortis potentially put lives at risk and undermined Canada's reputation in the intelligence community internationally. Both the Crown and defense left the courtroom disappointed today.
Obviously, we thought this conduct was deserving of a much higher sentence.
The Crown had asked for a severe penalty, north of 20 years. With today's sentence, minus time served, Ortis will be behind bars for 7 more years.
When someone chooses to engage in conduct like Mr. Ortis, to violate their oath of protecting information that is sensitive and classified, information that Canada needs to stay secure, then that case will be thoroughly investigated, it will be vigorously prosecuted, and the offender will be held to account if convicted.
The defense argued Ortis suffered enough waiting for his case to go to trial and asked for no more time.
He stands by his innocence. The fact that the jury couldn't hear a lot of his defense obviously still bothers him, especially in fact of being convicted.
The former head of Canada's spy agency says all our allies have had embarrassing leaks. It's what you do after that matters.
This happens. All of our allies understand that. Nobody likes it, and it is unfortunate when it happens. And it really makes it clear that if you haven't got all of the tools in place to prevent leaks, that you should think about what you have to do, and probably that's the case for the RCMP.
This case is far from over. The defense plans to appeal the conviction. The Crown is also appealing, looking for a harsher sentence. Catherine Tunney, CBC News, Ottawa.
Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre confirms he is opposed to allowing the use of puberty blockers on children. Poilievre was grilled about his views on gender-affirming medical treatments for youth in light of plans by Alberta's premier to ban treatments for children 15 and younger.
I think that we should protect children and their ability to make adult decisions when they are adults.
So you think only adults should make? You said yes. Just to be clear, you said yes. Only adults should take puberty blockers.
I think we should protect children, let them make adult decisions when they become adults.
So that means you are against puberty blockers for kids under the age of 18. Is that
yes?
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh vows to keep pushing for a national pharmacare plan, saying he wants concrete government action by March 1st. Pharmacare was among the New Democrats' conditions for supporting the Liberals in Parliament after the last election. Today's comments didn't explicitly threaten a no-confidence motion, but they did prompt speculation.
We are very serious that pharmacare has to be delivered. We need to see legislation and some additional steps. And I made that very clear to the Prime Minister. I put him on notice that we expect that by March 1st. If not, there will be repercussions.
Israel has rejected a 4.5-month ceasefire offer by Hamas. The proposal outlines stages for all the Israeli hostages to be released and compromised on Hamas's previous demands for a permanent ceasefire before any truce. Benjamin Netanyahu responded, saying the war would not end until Hamas was destroyed and that total victory was within reach. Hamas's plans stipulated ongoing talks aimed at making the ceasefire permanent, with the last hostages to be released then. It all comes amid concerns an Israeli ground assault is imminent on Rafah, where half of Gaza's population is now crammed at the Egyptian border. 2 bombings have hit Pakistan ahead of tomorrow's national election. 26 people have been killed and dozens more are wounded. The CBC's Salima Shivji reports on the fear of more violence amid Pakistan's political turmoil.
The eve of an election turned bloody and chaotic. A rush to help victims outside bombed election offices in Pakistan's rest of Balochistan province in the southwest. 2 deadly blasts an hour apart, killing many of the victims instantly. It comes despite a show of force, tens of thousands of army personnel protecting polling stations for an election marred by claims of meddling by Pakistan's powerful military. The campaign has been unusually subdued. For many at this market, just thinking about Thursday's vote is disheartening. This 60-year-old running her sock stand can't bear it. The elections are a farce, she says. They're not fair at all. It's not an election, it's a selection, this shopkeeper says. One party is being punished, the other favored. Punished and jailed on charges he claims are political. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan is barred from running. He released this video recorded before he was arrested, calling on his supporters to still go vote. But his party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, has been targeted in a crackdown that human rights groups and independent observers call disturbing. It's pushed Khan's many supporters to rally differently, quietly, in backyards under the radar, fueling frustration.
There is a hindrance on behalf of the police, on behalf of the administration, because the police is harassing our supporters, and sometimes they are stopping their businesses.
Not so for the other main party. Crowds rush in to hear Nawaz Sharif speak, also a former prime minister 3 times over. Widely seen as the army's preferred candidate and the likely winner. But even here at this boisterous rally, there's a sense of futility. I have no faith in this country, this young woman says. We need new politicians, not familiar faces. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Islamabad.
Trade between provinces in Canada. A battle is brewing between Alberta and British Columbia over wine and some old rules. We'll explain after the break. An interprovincial trade spat is pouring across the border between British Columbia and Alberta. This wine war centers on old trade rules, and it's leaving wine producers with a bad taste in their mouths. CBC's Brady Strachan reports.
So rosé has been a feature at Costco in Alberta.
It's taken decades for Quailsgate Winery to establish its brand with Albertan wine lovers. But now the West Kelowna winery has been abruptly cut off. Notice given in this letter that Alberta will no longer accept shipments of their wine.
We're being strong-armed into this position by using one lever to get another one.
A blow for the winery, which ships $100,000 worth of wholesale wine each month to Alberta. Quailsgate is just one of the BC wineries affected. They all ship directly to their wine club members, something Alberta says is not allowed. Alberta's alcohol regulator declined an interview, directing CBC News to a statement that said direct-to-consumer shipping was impacting the dollars that support projects and services Albertans rely on. This industry consultant says the issue boils down to antiquated regulations.
So it seems kind of crazy in Canada that it's easier to import wine to Alberta from France or California than it is from British Columbia or Ontario.
This sudden move by Alberta has left the wine industry scrambling, and the BC government is working to stop the blockade.
Really hard to understand why Alberta would choose this moment to go after BC wineries. I know my colleague, Minister Mike Farnworth, has reached out to his counterpart in Alberta to discuss this.
It's not the first time Alberta has cut off the flow of BC wine. In 2018, the province stopped imports over a pipeline expansion dispute with BC. The BC wine industry says disputes like this hurt their business and consumers.
Alberta is clearly the second biggest market for BC wineries. A lot of them are long-standing consumers and customers, wine club members.
Merlot, Syrah.
Alberta's regulator told winemakers it would lift the ban if they agreed to stop shipping directly to Alberta consumers, something this winery is considering. Brady Strachan, CBC News, Kelowna.
A pod of orcas trapped in sea ice for the past 2 days off Japan has hopefully freed itself. Fishermen saw this, more than a dozen orcas stuck in an ice pack off northern Japan on Tuesday. They were crowded together, sharing one opening in the ice to come up and breathe. The fishermen reported it to local officials and environmentalists who shot this drone footage. They checked on the pod later, and officials say the orcas had managed to move to another hole in the ice later that night. When the officials returned this morning, the orcas were gone. It's believed they were able to escape as more openings in the ice developed. And let's hope that's the case.
Yeah.
Riley, how big is this mess? Like, is it hitting the whole province?
So parts of the north are expecting some snow over the next couple of days, Janet. We'll run the numbers on that in just a minute. But first, let's have a look at the live radar once again. And you can see that we, in Winnipeg, at least on the cusp of a little more precipitation here in the eastern part of Manitoba. Still quite a bit of snow back to the west and even into parts of Saskatchewan. So yeah, we're looking at a messy night ahead, especially along this Trans-Canada corridor here, because once we get into the night tonight and temperatures dip below the 0 mark, we'll start to see some of that freezing and highway conditions coupled with the winds, potentially quite treacherous into the night tonight. So you can see live radar picking up once again some rain on the edge of the city and more rain toward the southeastern corner of Manitoba. So I mentioned northern Manitoba and some snow, not left out of this by any means. Looking at some of the numbers here, you can see 10 centimeters in Swan River, 1 centimeter in the Pas, though. Generally across northeastern Manitoba, looking at 5 to 10 centimeters by the time we get to supper hour tomorrow and into the early part of Friday morning. So looking at your current temperatures right now, and yeah, we're kind of right around the freezing mark, 3 degrees in both Morris and Steinbach. This is the area where we're seeing some of that rain falling today and this hour, in fact. Still 3 degrees downtown, 1 in Eli, and a bit cooler back to the west, -2s for both Dauphin and Roblin, and on the freezing mark for both Brandon and Melita. So a little bit of a range in temperatures across southern Manitoba. The north looking at cooler temperatures around -10 for both Flin Flon and the Pas, -15s for Lynn Lake and Thompson, -19s right now for Tadoule Lake and Churchill. And as we get into the night tonight, we are expecting relatively cloudy skies with 5 to 10 millimeters of rain for Kenora, Dryden, and Fort Frances, more like 2 to 4 centimeters of snow, but on the freezing mark for the Red Lake region. 5 to 10 millimeters of rain generally across southeastern Manitoba, mixed in with some snow, mixed in with a little more snow the further west you go. However, we're expecting rain and snow and a chance of light snow up in the Arborg region on the freezing mark. Western Manitoba, this is where we have a snowfall warning in place, 5 to 10 centimeters of snow overnight, but we could see more accumulation through the Riding Mountain National Park region, -7, 2 to 4 centimeters of snow in the Swan River region tonight. Chance of light snow in northern Manitoba. We'll start to see that picking up as we get into the day on Thursday. -6 in Island Lake tomorrow. The Pas OCN at -8 with a chance of light snow. Snow 2 to 4 centimeters worth in the Swan River region. more like 5 in the Dauphin Riding Mountain region. Temperatures hovering around freezing for the rest of southwest Manitoba. That's the case for the southeast as well. Snow, wind, and rain through the afternoon tomorrow, and we're looking at more rain as well, Janet, through northwestern Ontario. I'll have a bit of a cool down in your 7-day forecast coming up.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Schools in Manitoba need more coaches, period. They'd also benefit from greater diversity among coaches. Hear why one Winnipeg basketball coach loves doing it and how others can get involved after the break. Understanding why there's a lack of diversity in high school sports, specifically in coaching, is part of a conversation tonight at the Sport Manitoba building in downtown Winnipeg. One of the panelists there is the basketball coach from Sturgeon Heights Collegiate, Stephen Tacky. He was in our radio studio this morning speaking with Marcy Marcusa.
This guest of mine here knows a lot about not only passing the ball, all right, I'm ready, but also teaching people how to pass the ball. How long have you been coaching?
I've been coaching, it's been more than 25 years.
Yeah.
But honestly,
woo! We hit the computer. It's okay.
Because I really love it.
Yep.
I honestly, the years, I don't know.
Yeah. More than 25 years with Sturgeon Heights Huskies. So
That's right.
Go, go, go. Stephen Tacky is my guest this morning, and we're passing the ball, and at the end there poorly, but before that, pretty good. Because Stephen's part of a panel tonight. They're going to be talking about why there's a lack of diversity in high school sport in Canada. It's part of this conversation, and tonight they're focusing on coaches like Stephen. So it's happening over at Sport Manitoba Building on Pacific in the at the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame Gallery. And beyond coaching the Huskies at Sturgeon Heights, Stephen's also coached at the provincial level and been awarded for his work. So what do you love about it, about, imparting knowledge to the kids through coaching, Stephen?
Because every year you get a new group of people that you get to interact with, share with. I think I just love helping to inspire, helping to have kids grow, help kids experience new things. So as much as there's the basketball part, really I learned a long time ago that it is the whole person that you get a chance to experience, because you're going to see them later on, or they will talk to a friend later on, and how do they feel when they were part of your basketball team and when they're around you? So I really enjoy that kind of stuff.
What do we mean when we say there's a lack of diversity in high school coaching? Who is not represented?
It's funny you say that, because I've been thinking that too. Because diversity can mean so many different things. It could mean, are there men, women? Mm-hmm. Are there they, them? Are there different physical abilities? Like, it could mean so many things. So I'm excited about this panel discussion because I'm curious to hear what some of the other panelists have to say.
And what's your sense as a coach? Are we lacking in all of those areas of diversity?
I do think so. I think culturally, sports and coaching has been a male thing. And maybe it's because gym class, and there's usually a male teacher or a female teacher, but it's generally been a male thing. And I'm not exactly sure why. I think that's more culturally and historically.
What do you feel needs to happen to attract more high school coaches, especially those who aren't white? Just to be blunt here.
In terms of a pathway, I think that it's important that we make it smooth and easy. And it's getting harder and harder to be a high school coach because of all of these other things that you need to do to be a coach.
Got it.
And some people just don't have that time in their lives.
What's the reality if somebody's listening and they think, I might have the time and the skill set, both athletically and also maybe within yourself to guide the kids, to coach.
Yeah.
And they want to get involved at a school. Like, can you actually approach school?
Yes. If you have a sport that you're passionate about and you love it, the only reason why the sport wouldn't go in high school or middle school or elementary school is because there isn't somebody there that can champion it. So approaching a high school, it could be the school that your child or your nephew goes to, or the school that's just in the neighborhood. It could be the school you went to. If you're not from here, you love the sport, you can say, hey, I'm just wondering. You can also approach MHSAA, Manitoba High School Athletic Association, and they definitely, I know, for example, I love basketball. On the Basketball Manitoba site, they would say schools needing coaches. And there'd be a webpage of the schools that need coaches and the level. And then you just contact the school.
That's good discussion, important one. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Stephen Tacky talking with Marcy Marcusa. Your 7-day forecast. What's ahead for this weather and daily lift are still to come. We'll be right back.
Thought I'd give you another look at the radar because, yeah, we've been seeing more pockets of rain through the Winnipeg region. North of the city, though, this has transitioned over to snow. And as forecast, this falling is mainly a rain event for southeastern Manitoba and northwestern Ontario, but quite a bit of snow falling back to the west into Saskatchewan, into the Riding Mountain region, where, of course, we do have those snowfall warnings in place. So looking at your day planner tomorrow, yeah, plan for a messy day tomorrow. +1 by 8 o'clock in the morning. 2 degrees will be our high at noon tomorrow. Then the temperature starts to fall as we get into the later part of the afternoon. Gusty northwest winds up to 50, and then that will lead us into some cooler air for the weekend. Snow tapers off through Friday, and then highs closer to that seasonal mark of -10 as we head into the early part of next week. Well, a unique painting was sold by Christie's Auctions recently.
They always sell the best stuff. Yeah. This one took a long and winding road from its creation in 1966, bearing its 4 artist signatures. What were they? John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Here's your Daily Lift. Yes, the Beatles painted this in a Tokyo hotel room. Each painted a quadrant. They signed it in the center in a space where a lamp had been sitting while they worked. The selling price, $1.74 million US. I was going to get it for you for a present, but I
would have really appreciated that.
I wasn't. Yeah, well, I'm a little cheap.
See you
Bye.